Hello. I'm Martha. I'm from Edinburgh Business School, and my presentation hasn't been BTL'd because they wanted to keep the logo and the brand and everything, so thank you for that. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our journey using Surpass. We got our Surpass instance in January this year, and we delivered our first exams in March, so we had a very, very short run-in time to deliver our tests. So let me give you a little bit of context, tell you a little bit about Edinburgh Business School. Edinburgh Business School is the graduate business school of Heriot-Watt University based in Edinburgh. But we operate quite independently of the university. We're one of 5 faculties within the university, but we have our own charitable status, so we operate quite independently of the rest of the university. And we offer students a very flexible approach to their master's business qualifications. 90% of our students are doing an MBA. 10%, well, about 5% are doing MSCs in things like financial planning and marketing. And then we also offer the DBA, where students take a few courses and then they write their thesis, their dissertation. But as I said, 90% are doing the MBA, so that's really where most of our business comes from. We're not like a traditional university where we have students on campus. We only have 2% of our students are studying on a campus. And we have 3 campuses. There's Edinburgh, there's Dubai, and there's Malaysia, but only 2%. Where our students come from are through learning partners. We have 24 learning partners globally, from Trinidad to Singapore, Zambia, and so on. And then the rest are distance learning. And 52% of our students come through those learning partners, and 46% are distance learning. So the majority, a little bit over the majority, are in those learning partners. Okay, and so we have 12,000 active students. An active student is somebody who's in our system, and we keep them in the system for 10 years. So that flexible approach where they can sign up, they can take their course when they're ready, they can take their exam when they're ready, it's very self-paced, and they can stay with us for 10 years without kind of worrying about having to complete a course within a short space of time. They're spread across 166 countries. That's where we have students at the moment, and they're taking 24,000 exams a year, not each, obviously. And they are session-based exams. So we have 4 sessions a year, 2 major diets, June and December, and 2 minor diets in August and March. And the minor diets, probably 3,000 exams in those minor diets. So the biggies are June and December. So this was what we wanted to achieve. We have 47 subjects in total, and we wanted to have all of those available by the end of December 2018, so available on Surpass. We deliver in 5 languages, but the vast majority are in English. We wanted to have all 5 languages available for end of 2018, sorry. And we wanted to be able to deliver in 110 exam centres by the end of 2018, because our students can take their exam where they want. This is part of the flexible approach to our MBA program. So if they are studying in Iceland, they can take their exam in Iceland. If they're studying, we had a student in Greenland, he took his exam in Greenland. They don't have to go to a big test centre to be able to take their exam. So we've had to cater for, those students. The plan is that e-assessment becomes the default by the end of 2018. We are having to launch e-assessment alongside our existing traditional pen and paper exams. So that's caused a few issues, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. And the pen and paper exam will be the exception by the end of 2018. And these might be people who cannot, for whatever reason, take e-assessment. Again, it could be people who are in far-flung places, or it could be, we have candidates in prison, for example, so they may be the pen and paper candidates. But it will be the exception. And eventually, long term, there has been some discussion about having one e-assessment platform for the whole of the university. It's still in the very early stages, so we don't really want to put a date on when that's going to happen. And also, because we operate very differently from the rest of the university, it's quite difficult to kind of bring that together and make sure everybody's happy. So as I said, we delivered our first exams in March this year. We started very, very small. We only offered 3 subjects in 7 test centres, and the uptake was 13% because we gave students the choice about whether they did it. So that 13% uptake, I assume, is the early adopters, because we didn't, push anybody into taking e-assessment. June expanded a little, 28 test centres, but the uptake was the same. August, minor diet, so much smaller, and in December we're going to offer the 6 subjects but 46 exam centres, and so far the uptake is 18%, but I'm hoping to get it up to 22% by the end of this month. So as you can see, it's a very sort of gradual process. It's a lot of persuading students to take e-assessment, but we're not pushing anybody. And because we don't have the full range of test centres, it hasn't been possible to get everybody to take e-assessment. Here are some of our barriers or issues that we came up with. We have those 47 exams, courses. We have to maintain the same content in e-assessment, and transferring over that content into the question types that are in Surpass was really, really challenging. And that's why we only rolled out a few subjects early on, because we're having to, we put a proposal to BTL to create a question type specifically for what we need. So we need candidates to be able to draw diagrams. They write essays and they draw diagrams, and they have tables. There's nothing in Surpass at the moment that can do that easily. So BTL are going to take the spreadsheet question type and they're going to add in that diagram creation bit so that it is a question type specifically, tailored to our needs. And that's going to be available in December. So I'm hoping that in March we'll be able to use that, that question type. And then there's no barrier to the number of subjects that we can put on e-assessment. As I said, there were a lot of issues with delivering e-assessment alongside pen and paper. One of them was the appetite of the students, very reluctant to do it. And what I learned was that, my assumption that most of our students who are studying through a learning partner, our biggest learning partner is in Trinidad. And I thought, well, okay, biggest centre, the uptake for e-assessment will be big there. And it wasn't. It's still in the single digits of candidates in Trinidad who are taking e-assessment because they're just not used to taking it. They've done all their exams on pen and paper. They don't want to move over. There's real resistance. But in places where we have big distance learning numbers like Canada, the uptake is 70–80%. So these are professionals who are used to working on a computer. They have no qualms about moving on to a computer to do their 3-hour exam. It's a really long exam for them. The other thing was the buy-in from the learning partners. These 24 learning partners, they all say they're enthusiastic about embedding e-assessment in their program, in their teaching, their revision, but they're not really doing it. They're just kind of saying, yeah, okay, that sounds great, but they're not really kind of pushing their students into e-assessment. So a lot of work needs to go in to get that buy-in from them. And another barrier was the availability of e-assessment exam centres. Actually, I was thinking about this today, and we've done very well. We're going to have 46 exam centres for e-assessment in December. And what we did was we approached our current partners who deliver pen and paper for us, And all of them, with one exception, have said, yes, they can deliver e-assessment. So really, it's not that much of a problem finding a test centre. But our numbers are really small. So where you have 1 or 2 candidates for one exam, fortunately, our current test centres have been able to cater for it. We're not at the stage yet where we have 20, 30 candidates sitting in one session, one exam at one time. So we can't go to the more commercial test centres. We're sticking with the ones that we have at the moment. And they are usually universities and colleges and so on. So they can accommodate e-assessment in small rooms. It's quite easy for them. So a little bit on that, the test centre network that we have been using. At the moment, we offer 450 locations for pen and paper. Trying to replicate that for e-assessment is impossible, and I don't think we want to, because the cost of delivering e-assessment compared with pen and paper, you'll know it's very different. So we've decided that we'll only offer a maximum of 110 e-assessment centres, and we've located those, and that's fine. We're going to go with that number. But then the question of how do we cater for the ones, the 300 odd that have been taking their exams elsewhere, where do they take their exam? So at the moment, we're either persuading them to go to their local cities. So for example, South Africa, we have a big test centre in Johannesburg and Cape Town, but if they're living in Durban, so at the moment we say either take it in Cape Town or Johannesburg. Some of them do that, and that's fine, those early adopters, but others are absolutely, sure that they're not going to do that. Some of the things I've learned along the way, doing more student research, finding out what the appetite is of the students, how far they're prepared to travel to go and take their e-assessment exam, whether they will want to type for 3 hours instead of write for 3 hours. There's lots of regional differences. So as I said, in Canada, North America and Northern Europe, no problem. They're quite happy to switch over. But sub-Saharan African students, very reluctant to move over. Communication, this always comes up when you watch a presentation about e-assessment, about communicating to people, and it's true, it should be, it should be specific, it should be comprehensive, it should be to the right people, it should be frequent without pissing people off, but it's really important to get it right and to plan it in advance, I think. And also a better understanding of Surpass. And this is because we got our instance in January and we delivered our first tests in March. So it was a really short time. I didn't have enough time to understand Surpass, what it was capable of. So it's been a huge learning curve in the last 9 months. And I'm still working out how to do things on Surpass. It's really, quite complicated. But anyway, we're getting there. We're hoping that... as I said, by December, it will be 22% uptake. When we get our new spreadsheet question type with the diagrams, then we can go all the way. So it's been an interesting journey.